Welcome to the perpetual show. Where the loaves go, we've got flow. Oh yeah. Driving through the fields of green, oh so bright. With a loaf by your side, everything feels right. Loafing through the fields, feeling so alive. In our boxy Russian van, we're taking our stride. Past the fallen soldiers, a bittersweet sight. But we're cruising on this road tonight. Bouncing to the rhythm, calypso in our soul. The loaf's engine purring as our story unfolds. We're singing and we're dancing, the sun shining above. The loaf takes us places where we find love. Loafing through the fields, feeling so alive. In our boxy Russian van, we're taking our stride. Past the fallen soldiers, a bittersweet sight. But we're cruising on this road tonight. Bouncing to the rhythm, calypso in our soul. The love's engine purring as our story unfolds. We're singing and we're dancing, the sun shining above. The loaf takes us places where we find love.
Hello, everybody. We're here early. Uh, we're here with Gick. Hi, Gick.
Hello, everyone.
I'm trying to multitask today, okay? And I'm not good at it because I haven't slept in a few days, so my multitasking is really bad. But I just want to play this video for everybody because it's an internet sensation, you know? This drone was just kind of going over to make a friend, and the friend thought the drone was hungry and threw a fish at it. And it nailed the drone with a fish. Oh man, it's such a good video. It's so good. I think my favorite part of the video is that the fish just bounces off the drone. The drone's like, ow. It's like, ouchies, you hit me with a fish. Rude. Just wanted to say hello. Alright, so I'm trying to figure out what window I'm in. Okay, here's the window. Gick, can you say something so I can see if they can hear you?
Hello.
Okay, they can hear you.
So they didn't hear how I joked about this fish being more accurate than Russian artillery.
Well, they could hear you the whole time, so.
Okay.
I should send out a tweet too, probably, that we are live. Because we used to do this more often, but not as common. Anyways, how's your week going?
Mine? Oh, it's been tough.
Oh boy. Oh no.
What happened?
Oh god. I'm so confused.
Don't tell me we haven't been live.
Why do I hear the loaf song all of a sudden? What's going on?
Did you start to stream on YouTube, maybe? In the browser?
I don't think so. Oh, I did. Okay, I stopped it.
Look,
I just started hearing the song.
See, I'm an expert in this because it happened to me earlier.
But you see the problem. My problem is I have 4 monitors, and each monitor has 15 windows open.
Yeah, and you have something like 500 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah. So what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was gonna send a tweet.
Yeah.
But then I forgot how to. Oh, because I have to go to YouTube and get the link to the thing first.
Yeah. So anyway, you asked about my week. So my week has been quite tough. Real life work has been occupying a lot of my time. So I was really, struggling with also working on the sheet. I think you felt it on some days that you had to, cover the most of the work, so to say. But yeah, there was, I think one day, I think it was Wednesday or something like that, where I just started the day, and after like 1 hour or something like that, I already had something like 60 coordinates, which was really, really good. And then yesterday and today, I had business trips, and it was horrible, to be honest. Like, I'm really tired right now,
Oh,
but spreadsheet won't wait.
I am so tired. I think I've slept 2 days this week. Yeah.
2 entire days, that's a lot.
No, I slept a portion of 2 days. The other 4 or so I've been awake. Oh man. So there has been some news lately. I need to figure out where I'm supposed to be looking on my computer right now. Okay, I found it. There's one piece of news that came out today. I thought we would have it mapped, but we don't. So I will find it in a second. I have to search my spreadsheet. Novo. How do I spell this? I don't know how they spelled it. That's the problem. There's so many different ways to spell it. I can't find it. But basically, this town right here, Tiahinka, whatever. This town right here, yesterday got struck by 9 airstrikes. And it did substantial damage to the town, and I believe it wounded a bunch of civilians. And I had an article about it, but I can't find it. But we also have this video, which somehow we missed this video yesterday. But I read the article, and then as I was scrolling through Telegram, I saw the videos. Like, oh, that's convenient. It goes with the article. So, and now I lost the article. But anyways, we have these videos of these airstrikes here. They hit. Well, the video wasn't all into Hinka. 2 of the airstrikes in this video, 2 more were there, and 1 was over here. So, but yeah, this was a pretty significant strike yesterday on basically all hitting civilians. So, this is something that you probably won't see in the news, but we have not only the news story somewhere in the spreadsheet, but also the video to go with it, which is interesting. We don't always get that, especially not released at the same, like, at the time it happened. Speaking of which, there's another thing that happened that's similar. Happened in Siversk, where we had this video yesterday of this massive grad shelling, like huge grad shelling. Like they fired like 2 entire grads worth of rockets into the middle of Siversk, like literally just shooting it straight into the residential sector. We had that video last night. We were pretty horrified by it, to be honest. And we were kind of talking about whether there are still civilians there. But we got this news today that a 63-year-old woman, I think, 63-year-old, was killed in that shelling. So that's some of the news that we have of it always kind of strikes me as particularly interesting, just to me personally, when we have the news story and the video come out at like roughly the same time. Especially for these kind of smaller events, like not um like the missile strikes on big cities, etc. Like that's a different story, but these like smaller towns and places getting struck, having the video and the story at the same time doesn't happen often. So yeah, um, that was kind of the news stories that I wanted to lead with. Obviously, there were other pretty horrible stories this week, including a missile strike on Kyiv. Um, the strike on Kyiv was several days in the making. If you were kind of paying attention, you knew it was going to happen. Because first, there was the strike on the fighters in Mirhorod, right? They took out the fighters in Mirhorod, and their job, obviously, is to intercept cruise missiles. And then they took out some air defense around Poltava, and obviously their job is to intercept cruise missiles. And then they struck the airfield in Poltava and damaged a helicopter, which has nothing to do with anything. And then they fired missiles through Poltava into Kyiv. So this was all obviously a planned event that was a week or so in the making. Well, it took them a week to implement their plan, and it may have taken months for them to plan it. And we saw it all happen in quick succession of an Iskander hit there, an Iskander hit here, and then the missiles. And they fired them straight into a hospital. Oh. Oh, not into one hospital, was it? It was into 3 hospitals.
Well, we saw 2 direct hits to hospitals, one which is not entirely clear what kind of missile it is, one which is entirely clear what missile it is, which is, however, the only one really discussed. And then there is one which we do not know where it hit exactly, but we know of damage close to the medical academy.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have all of this kind of mapped out. Brendan wrote an essay on everything that happened. I broke the essay apart into portions because our map doesn't currently have a scroll feature, so you can't make these text boxes too big. So I broke his essay apart, and you can read the parts. They're numbered. You could read them in order if you want to. But yeah, and then we also have the images and videos of all the things that happened there. It was pretty awful. The follow-up information in the days after the strike, I think, was much more awful than what happened, what came out the day of. Like, there was one doctor who was in the middle of doing surgery on a small child when the missile struck, which is obviously bad for the surgery. Like, and then he like was running around like covered in blood, you know? And there's like these pretty famous photographs of him like covered in blood, like helping people. And the blood was his own, by the way. And then there's like the follow-up images of the wounded children, etc., from the hospital, which was really depressing. But this week has been really depressing, to be honest. Speaking of depressing, I kind of want to get all the bad news out first and then move on. But there's another depressing piece of news in that one of the guys who was once a guest on this very here program, Volodymyr, he was killed last weekend. And along with him, we lost a few other pretty good guys and a bunch of equipment. And that equipment is very expensive. And Konstantin is currently doing a fundraiser to raise money to replace this equipment. So this here is, I'll show you in one moment as I switch over. So this here is Timothy. He's another drone pilot who was killed alongside Volodymyr. So this is a link to the fundraiser that Konstantin is doing, and this is some information about Timothy. So I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that gig?
No, I mean it's horrible news. And it's been good friends to some people. So yeah, if you can support, please do.
Yeah, I'll put a link to the fundraiser and to the tweet. There's another tweet about Volodymyr. This one is the one about Timothy. You can read both if you want to. We go back in time far enough, we can see the one about Volodymyr. Anyway, whatever. You can find it if you want. I put those two links in the description of this video. What happened to them? I don't think anybody knows, to be honest.
I'm also not sure if it's up to us to say something because the Russians might also be listening, and imagine they know exactly which video to match to that event. It could potentially be that they would target or harass some people who are dear to us with then the video and so I would like to prevent that, to be honest.
Yeah. And just genuinely speaking, we have no idea what happened. So, yeah. We do know that the Russians are not above harassing us because they have already released videos harassing us. So, they're not above that. So, anyway, so that's kind of most of the bad news I kind of wanted to talk about in the beginning.
I do have good news, Andrew.
You have good news?
I convinced Exit to give us boat news. Since there's no Tuesday stream currently, she's gonna pop in for a few minutes, she said, and give us boat news. We've all been missing boat news.
Yeah, there has been. You haven't had boat news. I have been trying to do a Monday stream. It's just that every time it's Monday, I don't want to be awake anymore.
Or alive.
That's been my problem.
Yeah, Mondays are horrible.
Okay, so I do have some boat adjacent news. I frankly don't follow Odessa very closely. I know Exit follows Odessa very closely, but I do not follow Odessa, like almost at all. But I do know that Odessa has been hit several times recently. I don't really know much beyond that. Oh, there is some good news. They got this new fire truck. This is a German fire truck, right?
Only from the airport, but no, it looks Korean or something. I don't know. Oh no, wait, it's Dutch, but it's
Dutch.
Brandwehr is yeah, that's Dutch. I just
Yeah.
read it now. I thought like top left of the vehicle that's Chinese or Asian symbols, but no.
They got this this new fire truck. I can show you the video. There's nothing.
Yeah, but it looks like it's from an airport.
Maybe.
Typical airport fire truck.
Yeah.
Exit.
Exit's here.
Exit is here. Oh, but she probably can't speak yet.
Okay.
Because she's still, I think she's force muted.
Okay. But yeah, these guys, they got a new fire truck. They're pretty happy with it.
I mean, I would be too. Like sending that equipment always makes me so happy because there's not even there can't be any discussion about that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's purely happy good news that stuff like that gets to there where it's really needed. So
guess what they called it?
They gave it a name?
They gave this vehicle a name. Guess what they called it?
Oh, Detroit Diesel. Oh, good engine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, the Terminator.
They called it the Fireheimers.
The Fireheimers. That's so cool. Okay.
Exit, are you here?
So she can't hear us on Discord, apparently. I think it's because her audio device is not properly set up right now. So that's why I meant earlier she's force muted because it doesn't recognize her audio device. I'm gonna talk to her.
Okay. So there was one somewhat interesting story that happened that came out yesterday or today, whatever. Russia's attacking Novoselivka, Persia. This town right here. This town is almost certainly going to fall in the very near future. But what I find interesting is that there's still civilians there that refuse to leave. And one of them was killed and two more were wounded yesterday by Russian shelling in a town that's on the verge of collapse. That is weird to me personally. I don't know why civilians are there.
I think Exit can hear now.
Is Exit here?
I'm here.
Here.
Sorry. Gick asked if I had anything to relate, and I was going to write, and then I thought I should just come for 5 minutes. So I guess the update is that because of the NATO summit, as Putin normally does, he planned a whole bunch of extra strikes, especially on Odessa and the Odessa area. They have had a lot of ISR drones up, like they're splashing at least 5 a day, if not more often, which is obviously giving them targeting information, which is not really helpful to Ukraine. While they do have some planes up trying to deal with those ISR drones, they're not able to take care of all of them as quickly as they would need to. And so Odessa was struck at least once on the port infrastructure this week. That strike actually did damage a civilian ship, one of the Ukrikorps ships, not to the point that the ship was unsaleable, but there absolutely was a liquid leak on that ship, as they called it. And it killed 2 people. And there was another strike earlier in the week at Chernomorsk, which also caused some fatalities and some injuries. It's been a little bit quieter today, which is nice. They've only started doing air attacks in kind of the last couple hours at nighttime, as they often do. I assume that by tomorrow morning, Saturdays and Sundays are usually fairly busy with air raids, because why take a day off? That would be crazy. But yeah, it's been a busy week. There's been a lot of airstrikes in Odessa and that whole oblast. They even hit Ishmael earlier in the week, which is kind of the first time in a while that they've actually struck at Ishmael. And other than that, though, the actual ships are sailing in and out of Odessa really effectively, despite some fairly high wave heights that we had at some points during the week. They're still exporting. They're being productive and they are making their economy work. It's just that they have to beware of all of these missile strikes.
Yeah, we've had a few missile strikes on air defense, which is unfortunate. Unclear to me the exact extent of that damage. Some of the air defense looked like decoys to me. I wasn't really sure. And some of them I think were real. But even then I wasn't sure the extent of the damage. They claimed that they destroyed radars.
Mm-hmm. I asked around a little bit about that to some people who kind of keep an eye on it. Some of them definitely were real. Exactly how much has been struck that was real, I agree that there probably was some that were not. That's a little unclear. That, like, the air defense strikes are not new. They have been happening for quite some time. At one point, it was fairly clear that Odessa had gotten kind of a resupply of A, munitions, and B, some other air defense assets, but it definitely seems like the last week or 2 weeks, even 3 weeks, they've really started to hone in on that. And that's kind of when we started to see the real uptick in the ISR drones. They've been around for quite a while, but there's been a lot of them lately. And they are definitely using those assets. And if you watch the local news, you'll note that there's also, and Andrew, I know you will have seen this, that there's also a ton of arrests for FSB agents and other Ukrainians who have been locating targets for Russia, as well as the ISR drones. So, like, there's a lot of assets going into the strikes that are happening there, and that's part of why they are so effective in the last 3 weeks. But the problem is they are quite effective, and it doesn't appear that Ukraine is capable of kind of slowing that damage down at this moment.
Yeah, Russia is flying hundreds of drones in the Odessa area per day. They're probably flying around 2,000 drones per day in all of Ukraine. Probably around there, maybe more. So yeah, Ukraine needs to figure out a way to shoot down the drones. Basically, they need and shooting down the drone is pretty trivial. It's the tracking the drone that's the hard part. Because there's a lot of ways to shoot it down. They're like a sitting duck, right? They're like these big lumbering, not that big, but they're big. They're big enough. They're like the big lumbering things that they can't turn really quickly. They can't really pull any G's. They just kind of like fly in a straight line. So, if you want to take, once you know where it is, you can take it down with like anything, you know.
Like, I think kind of the part to me that kind of proves how easy it is to take down those drones is that you have the little Ukrainian prop planes going out and taking them down. And it's not just that they're taking them down. The Russian Zalas are like taking video of these drones or this plane as it's circling. Everybody knows what's going to happen next. the Russian drones can't do anything about it because they can't move fast enough to actually evade or do anything else. They're easy to take out. They know what's coming. They're literally getting close facial recognition of the pilots and the people who are shooting them down in these little prop planes. It's just that you have to find them and identify the location first.
Yeah. And they've been taken out with FPV drones. They've been taken out with fixed wing drones. There's a lot of weapons. It's just the finding them. And there are so many of them. I think Ukraine probably shoots down 20 a day, maybe. It seems that like every sector of the front, of which there's 4, every sector they shoot down like 5 or so. Yeah. It's just unfortunate that there's so many. Well, do you have other boat news? I've heard some boat news regarding the Bosphorus. I assumed nothing changed though. I think he just said nothing was going to change.
There's been a couple of like stoppages in the Bosphorus just for random mechanical issues and things like that. Nothing really spectacular. There is a Bellingcat and Lloyd's Insurance story out today about a ship that loaded grain in Crimea and then went to Yemen and delivered that grain. I'm going to write some thoughts about that particular story tonight because I think there's a lot of context that's kind of missing from that. They're trying to point out that that ship was inspected by the UN before it was let into Yemen, as every ship that goes into Yemen is inspected by the UN. But I think there's some pretty significant context that's kind of missing from that story. And so I guess hold your thoughts on that one because I'm going to write about it tonight and see if I can add some context to that. But there, honestly, most of the rest of the news has just been about like they started that mine clearing operation that Turkey, Bulgaria, and Romania are working on. Romania and Ukraine signed a bilateral agreement yesterday that kind of extends that program a little bit and talks about a few other bits and pieces that they're going to work on to kind of make the Black Sea transit safer. It's not really going to change a whole bunch from what we see now. It's just more of a documentation of what we're seeing going on. So honestly, like for as much as there's Russian strikes in Odessa and there's like really not great stuff happening, the actual operation of commercial traffic in the Black Sea and the Bosphorus, etc., is quite normalized. We had one of the largest container ship companies sail into Ukraine this week and load a container ship and sail back out. Like all of the normal things that we would expect to see of ships kind of transiting in and out of Ukraine and using that traffic as they normally would outside of wartime is happening. And they just keep turning on more and more pieces that are just normal traffic. And that's great. That's exactly what we want to see. It's becoming so normal that it's almost not really worth like noticing at this point because it is just normal operation, regardless of what happens in the war. And that is amazing. That's exactly what we want to see happen. But it does also mean that there's just not a whole bunch to talk about other than a few missile strikes that happen to coincide with the NATO summit.
Okay, so I have a question. I'm assuming that the harvest is over, right? The first harvest?
No.
Okay.
Early planted, so winter varieties of things are starting to come off. They are still coming off right now. And Ukraine's harvest kind of lasts from June until August, give or take. It started early this year because they've had so much heat, and this particular heat wave is actually kind of damaging. So if you don't follow weather, Ukraine has had a massive heat wave for the last week. Specifically, it's been hot, and even before that, it was quite hot. And so that type of heat can actually be fairly damaging to farmers' crops because it'll just dry everything out so fast. And when you do start harvesting, the amount of dust and other particulate that just kind of sits on hot engines, because there's always dust when you're harvesting anyways, it's more likely to cause naturally occurring fires. So the fire risk right now in Ukraine is really, really high. And then also, of course, we have Russian munitions dropping everywhere, which are landing on giant fields of very hot, dry crops, which have or have not been harvested. And so we're seeing, like in Odessa, I think yesterday or the day before, the fire department had gone out to 70 different fires in the oblast. And the majority of those are just naturally occurring fires. So it's not like they're only dealing with war and kind of like normal things that happen. This heat wave is also really kind of exacerbating a whole bunch of potential issues that can happen in the harvest. But I think the last stats I saw was that early season harvest was about 60% done, but there's still more to come.
Okay. Yeah, I have seen so much news about fires every single day. Kind of overwhelming. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. And often it should be said, when the firefighters go out to put out a fire, whether it's natural or not, the Russians immediately start shelling them.
Yep. And it's not just the firefighters. Like if the farmer goes out to try and stop a fire, the Russians immediately are attacking. If a farmer goes out in his combine just to harvest, the Russians are immediately attacking. Like this is consistent and constant. It's exactly what we saw last year. It's not going to stop until they leave. So give them weapons so we can make them leave. Yay.
I think
farming needs weapons.
I think we have an image here. I think it was in Stanislav of firefighters who went out to treat a fire. I guess it's not Stanislav. But they went out to fight a fire, and the Russians shelled them. And I believe one of the shells landed in the cab of the fire truck, which was bad for the fire truck. I can't find it. It's here somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, it's just it's an ongoing thing. It happens every single day. I don't know if you heard me do a deep sigh just a moment ago, but it was because news just came out that a police officer was killed by an FPV drone when he was driving down the street. So yeah, it's just when you read the news, it's incredibly depressing. It's incredibly depressing all the time. It's not great, and I kind of want it to all stop, personally.
I second that. Absolutely. I apologize. I really do have to go back to my real job.
Okay.
But thank you for making time for me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
See you soon.
Bye. Okay, so military news, Kick. Do you have any good news?
Well, yeah, I mean, Northern Kharkiv, there's kind of good news.
Yeah.
Even though it's hard work. But yeah, we see Ukraine more or less bypassing Lubovka here, and taking positions in that farm area. I mean, this has been very consistent. Now we have over the course of probably a week or maybe 1.5 weeks, we have seen the Russians targeting the farm area there, and it's obvious from the videos that it's consecutive days, and also we have the information that Ukraine is still there. So this is kind of a good development also because we know that there is actually a trench system which is built to defend towards the south, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they built it to defend north. It's just better at defending the south because they built it in a terrible place.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point it's fair because there are still Russians south of that. So yeah, and with regards to the city itself, or the city, well, the village itself, the Russians are still in the northeastern part. I think we confirmed that earlier again.
Yeah,
and
they use this tree line to get in.
yeah, exactly. And apparently it's quite sustainable at this point with the supply, even though we know that the road, which is going towards the tree line, is it's full of Russian logistical vehicles which are destroyed.
Yeah, I don't think you can take a vehicle in anymore. I think what they have to do is they have to like basically walk from like here, like along these trees, and they just keep walking along the trees and go like that, and then kind of like run across the field, and then walk along the trees again. I think that's basically how they have to do it.
Yeah, and there's actually one video where they do exactly that, which is the drawn video centered. Yeah, you can see them do exactly that. Just hug trees and then try to cross the open fields very quickly.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't go quickly enough.
Yeah, quite often, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's also the good part, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just they can get infantry in. I doubt that there's any medevac going on. I very strongly doubt. I think every vehicle that we see in this forest right here, because there's like vehicles like right here in this forest. I think every single one there is a medevac vehicle. So I think what they have to do is they have to carry the wounded back and get them across the field somehow and pack them into the vehicle, and then this vehicle jets off. The problem is that all those vehicles get destroyed on a very regular basis. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know how many infantry Russia has here. I doubt it's that many. And their morale is low. They have very there are so many videos of these infantry where they have just given up. Like they don't even respond to the FPV drone. They just kind of like sit there looking off into the distance until the drone hits them in the back of the head or something.
Yeah. And also with regards to the personnel situation there, I mean there are a bunch of people who are tracking very closely what the Russian wives say, because wives are a so important information source. You can underestimate that, how much you can learn from the wives blabbering. And I think just today there was a story about the wife asking with equipping her husband, which is going for training, and the recommendation that the other wives gave to her was that don't go don't go to the training, because out of their experience it was like they promise you a month of training, and they were actually trained for 3 days. Then they were sent to the unit where they were told that they would continue training for the rest of the month, and then they were sent into an assault right away after 3 days. So this is one of the more actually relatively common stories you will read about Russian soldiers, particularly in that area.
Yeah. It's some of the soldiers that I've seen. I don't know if you agree, but some of the soldiers I've seen in this area from videos and stuff, um, they just look old. Don't they look old to you?
Like I'm sorry, I missed the part. What looks old, the
The
soldiers or the
soldiers, the
videos?
The Russians look old. Like
Yeah,
they
we
look
see a
like
lot.
they're like 45.
Yeah, but don't forget that they age 20 years
Yeah,
within one day of Ukraine exposure.
yeah. True.
But yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to really judge or estimate the age of a person, but we do see a lot of older male soldiers. Yeah, and there was something about mercenaries. So by now we frequently see videos of probably soldiers of African heritage. They do have some Africa Corps, and we also see some parades where Africa Corps are part of that parade. We did in fact see quite a bunch of yeah, potentially those African soldiers. If they're mercenaries or not, you can judge from a video. That's it's not that easy. But what we know is that in this area, a lot of the old Wagner soldiers are operating. So those were mercenaries before. They might have been integrated into the regular army. But maybe the story is kind of mixing a bunch of things up. And when I said that we frequently see those videos of African soldiers, it's not that there's one every day, but we have probably seen in the last month, we have probably seen something like 5 or 6 videos showing one of them dying. And that is still a significant occurrence, in my opinion, or a statistical event.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have you know that it's illegal to be a mercenary in the Russian military. Right? That's their law. It's a crime. Anyways, so that's kind of the northern part of Kharkiv. Then you get the Vovchansk area where there was a story that happened like 2 days ago that made me laugh. Because I didn't see it anywhere on Telegram. I only saw it in, I don't know how to describe it, like South Asian news, I guess would be. It's like India and like Southeast Asia. Those are like the only places I saw this story. I never saw it coming out of Russia or Ukraine or Europe or North America. But, well, the ISW covered it too, which was weird. But they're saying that Russia had like basically captured all of Vovchansk, and Ukraine was like desperately retreating. And I don't know where that came from, to be honest. And people are saying that they had like video of it.
There were a lot of claims that Russians crossed the river. I'm not even sure that whoever made that story, knew what river.
Yeah.
um,
The only people that I saw, like, I looked into it a little bit. I didn't spend that much time on it, but I looked into it a little bit. I saw it originating from Indians. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I saw it. Like when I traced back the timeline, it was starting from Indian posters on Western media.
Maybe that was part of a deal that Modi struck in Moscow.
Maybe.
You spread the news of us capturing the city so I can sell it to my people because it's independent news, and I give you all of our oil in return.
Yeah. Anyways, all of the video that we have of Vovchansk shows Russia being pushed back. All of our video shows them getting pushed back and not advancing. So I don't know what videos these people are claiming to have access to, but I haven't seen them. Have you seen them, Gek? I have not seen them.
No, I haven't.
I just see Ukraine kind of pushing through these streets here where Russia used to control, and they seem to be pushing into not the middle of Vovchansk, but like the eastern middle-ish of Vovchansk. That's kind of what I see happening. And I believe Ukraine has reestablished this road here, which is actually pretty important. And
Yeah, there was one like on the or a bit north of the road. There was one video 2 days ago of an assault there. I'm not entirely sure how old that is.
I am almost certain it's very old. I think it's from like very old, like a month.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I wasn't so sure, and it was definitely not published before it, or at least I couldn't remember it. So yeah, I didn't really know how to deal with that set of information.
I'm gonna look now because I think we did map it before. I think we mapped it. Was it a Ukrainian assault there that we mapped? Because I know we've mapped assaults there.
Yeah,
it was the Ukrainian. Okay. Whatever.
Yeah, but that's what I thought. Maybe it's the Ukrainian assault happened thereafter, but I'm not entirely sure. It could be that the Russians have advanced there again. I don't consider it likely, to be honest.
I don't think so. I don't think they have. Anyways, from what I understand, they reestablished this road. I don't know of Ukraine crossing. Isn't this like a gully or something? Like it's a high here and high there,
Yeah.
and then like really like steep.
No, in between is the high part.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah.
the opposite of a gully. Okay.
So yeah, that's very valuable.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's this big trench here. I think there's actually 3 trenches, right? I think there's 1 trench here, and 1 trench there, and 1 trench here. I think.
Yeah, the entire part is a trench, and then on the hills you have trenches. So.
Anyways, so it's all fun. I don't know who currently controls the trench though. Moving on. Do we have any news from like Sinkivka or whatever?
No,
I think we do.
I think there were some claims that Russians were starting new assaults there.
Yeah.
But I don't think we have, the videos have reached us yet.
I have heard that there was a Russian assault there and that they took very high casualties and haven't attacked since. That's what I've heard. But I don't know. We know that they've moved into Pishana, whatever it's pronounced. So that's a thing. It's unfortunate. They're also assaulting here too. So yeah, that's.
But again, this area, in my opinion, it probably it provides some logical paths for them to go along and be very concealed, particularly with infantry. But to establish control over the wider area, in my opinion, takes a lot of effort, which is on very obvious and exposed positions and fields. So I don't really, or I'm not too worried about a lot of those, advances they're making there. Also knowing that the main Ukrainian position, is still far away from there.
Yeah, there was one video I couldn't locate last night that's in this area. I don't think it mattered too much, but it was Russian shelling here. I couldn't find it. Yeah, I think the main Ukrainian line is like roughly right here ish. I think it like wraps around like the terrain, but like roughly here ish. So they're getting close to like the main line at this point. I've also heard rumors of Russia doing an attack in this general area near. Well, they're attacking towards Novaya, and the attack failed.
And we talked about that town like a year ago, or
Yeah.
like a long time ago, several times.
Yeah,
So
because their first attack they captured Serivka, which is not actually a town; it's like a logging company. That's what they are. They're like a logging company, and they log this like forest here. So it's not even a town. They I believe they captured Nadia at one point, and they kind of pushed up to around here at one point, but Ukraine then pushed them back. This is all like rather hilly. I believe this here is the low grounds, and you see the water running through it. So yeah, this is all not ideal to attack. And if you put on your thinking caps and go all the way back in time, you'll know that this little N shape here, or this little Z, or whatever you want to call it, Russia lost like an entire division worth of armor right here. It's like lost so much armor. I remember uh, I have a contact with one of the drone pilots who is flying here like he flies like Mavic drones as a recon guy, and he sent me an exclusive video of his where he he flew his drone like right here and just did a 360, and there's just so many destroyed vehicles. It was really funny. Oh man. But yeah, maybe they'll try that again. Maybe the second time it will work. Who knows? Yeah. um, we had some confirmation that Russia had taken these positions north of Makivka. This has long been rumored, like for weeks and weeks, that Russia had taken those positions, but I never saw actual evidence that they had until like 2 days ago when I updated the map to that. And beyond that, there's not too many changes in this whole kind of now Siversk area. So we talked about the shelling in Siversk that killed the old lady. There's been the shelling in Kremenov Forest, which at this point is just regular and nothing special. Moving on south in Chasiv Yar, I'm not aware of any changes really. There was a motorcycle attack video, which was pretty funny. My favorite part of the motorcycle attack is when there was an artillery shell that didn't come close to hitting any of them, but still wiped out one of the motorcycles. Just because like he like panicked and crashed. If you sent a form to Tochny and no one responded, you can blame Ireland. I have nothing to do with it. I can't see those emails. Contact Ireland, I guess, or send another message to Tochny. So. Anyways, there was a few days ago there was an attack on Jurivka, but it's not super interesting. Okay, so getting to Toretsk, sorry, Toretsk. Do you have any opinions on Toretsk?
Well, I have. Well, I'm not sure if it's public information, so I'm gonna, I guess, not say everything. But let's call it like that. I think the Russians went into Pivnichne and surrounding areas, New York and so on, rather easily and without much resistance. Currently, what I think we're seeing is that one or some of the more combat experienced brigades basically showed up to push that back and stop the advance. From what I see the last days, it seems to have been more or less contained. I think we still see a lot of footage, which is from the early days right now. So I'm really, I didn't see anything new or learned anything new from any of the last 3-4 days worth of footage. I don't know if you disagree with that.
Yeah, it's been mostly confirmation. One map change I made was that I did that. So yeah, I agree. I've been told that the way that we map it is the way that it is. And I don't know what else to say. It's we got the 2 thumbs up. So they said that the only thing that we got wrong was that, and I'll go back in time. So they said the only thing that we got wrong was that Russia controlled the center, this part of New York, and I changed it, and then they gave us the thumbs up. So we nailed it. This isn't actually Tourette's. This is this is Tourette's. This is Pivnichna. But I'm basically always going to call the whole area Tourette's. And everyone that I've ever talked to in Ukraine refers to everything here as Tourette's. Like, they basically consider these smaller towns to just be like parts of Tourette's. And then there's New York, which is separate. But New York, I find more worrying, personally. I don't fully comprehend how they advanced so far in New York.
As said, without much resistance.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there were so many lines of defense. It would be one thing if they like breached one line of defense and like got to like here, but then they like went through the next line of defense and got to there, and then they like went through the next line of defense and now they're up here. It's like, how did you lose like every line of defense like instantly?
and New York is also a very high value target for the Russians, not only because that town is kind of important, but also because they absolutely love capturing New York and bombing New York. They make in the information space, it's it to them it's an American city basically. They're bombing.
Yeah, there's some. It's just all weird. Um, one of the reasons it's so unfortunate is that this eastern side of New York is like completely impossible to attack. So all you had to do was defend the south. And the south was really hard to attack. this should not have happened. Like, this is a bizarre turn of events. Like, it doesn't really make sense. I guess this is what you mean when you say that the Ukrainian military is stretched too thin.
It's just that, it was entirely expected. So if you stretch it thin, maybe don't do it where you expect it.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to stretch my military thin, I'll tell you where I would thin out my military. I would thin it out here. This is where I would thin it out. Oh, right there. Kherson area. I'd thin out that. I wouldn't thin out New York. Anyways, so I suspect the attack on Toretsk is basically kaput, I imagine. I don't really think Russia has the ability to keep progressing. I don't think it was their goal to progress. I think they're shocked that they got this far. They didn't mean to get this far. Like, it's just weird that they did. The northern flank is rock solid. Like, Russia's never even going to threaten this northern flank. The city itself, I think, is under no real threat currently. New York worries me. It's actually very worrying. I'm not sure what Ukraine's going to do about New York.
I also haven't seen, like, until now, I don't think I've seen any relocation or any combat brigade being sent to New York, or maybe I missed it.
I haven't either. I think basically what Ukraine has to do is guard along this road here and kind of make this your new front line and hope you can hold it. I think you kind of have to do that and just kind of make this your front line. If the Russians go north of that road, I'm going to be a little bit worried. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be pretty worrying if they can get north of that road. I think you kind of have to defend the road and then try to clear them out of these high rises and make the high rises a gray zone, or well, kind of a no man's land, the same sort of way that Canal is for Chesapeake. So Russia does technically control Canal, but there's nothing to control because it's totally ruined. I think you kind of have to do that here in New York. You have to kick them out and ruin it, so they can't use the buildings against you. And then hope that you can just stabilize around the highway. Failing that, I don't even know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I just looked it up. So a Scala battalion actually got sent there.
Okay.
So we might see Bradleys in New York, which is kind of kind of funny.
Yeah. Bradley's in New York. So, we know that Russia is continually trying to advance to the west. It's going very slowly. Very slowly. Their next main target is Procres. I think that's whatever. Procres. I think that's the next target. And Novoselyka Persia, which we pretty much think that Ukraine's going to abandon that town pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So,
but if you go a bit further north again,
yeah.
So west of Yehenivka, there's some major trenches. So I'm really, I think that you see the river line there, and I'm hopeful that for the Russians to advance further west from there, it's gonna take a lot of effort and a lot of resources. I really hope that the picture we have right now is the same picture we will look at in a week from now.
Yeah,
Hopefully
yes.
longer.
I believe what Russia's current plan is to capture Novoslivka, Persia, to capture Skuchna, and basically push up to the water here. I think that's one thing that they're aiming to do. Another thing is they want to capture this little like peninsula here. They want to push up to the river here in Korlivka, but they're not going to be able to, I don't think. And they want to capture Krasnohorivka. And once they capture Krasnohorivka, I think they're going to push north, the flank Korlivka, and take this chunk of land here. I think that's more or less their goal.
So today they did post one video where they captured a town in quotation marks. I sent you the coordinates in Discord.
Okay.
Yeah, in one of our chats. I don't even remember which one I used. Yeah, exactly.
They claim. Yeah, I saw that.
So first of all, they have been at that road like 2 months ago or something like that, and now they capture this town, which is literally 2 houses. And they make a big post about that. It's. I was surprised to find out that they only consider it captured now.
Yeah.
But let's make sure we put our stupid flag somewhere.
Yeah, I think Russia's goal is to just level off this entire area. Just make this all like one vertical line, basically.
They did have a lot of trouble still at Nevelsky, or is it because we don't have information? I mean, I don't geolocate a lot to there, but
from what I understand, Ukraine was giving land to Russia, like they were withdrawing to level out this area, but then Russia just wasn't attacking. So I think that's kind of what I think it's like. It's the situation. I think is basically like, you take it, no, you take it, no, you take it. I think Russia kind of is more interested in Karlivka. I think they're pushing their forces towards Karlivka, not Novelska. That's what I understand.
Guess it kind of makes sense, but it's also very exposed.
Yeah, I mean, there are positions. Oops. There are positions you should fight for, and some positions you shouldn't fight for. And if I were Russia, I would not fight for Novelska. Like, it doesn't. Like, what do I have to gain? Like, if I take Krasnohorivka and then start pushing up on this road and, like, take these fields, and I take Karlivka and start, pushing down the river, why would I have to attack Novelska? Like, what do I gain? Ukraine's going to leave. They're just going to pull out. You don't have to fight
eventually. I mean, yeah, and they probably, every time they approach Novelska, they have to go slalom. Is it slalom in English? You have to navigate through all the losses.
Yeah.
It's not very inviting.
We've already talked about Vovchansk. We were being asked, like.
Yeah, but maybe he joined late, or they joined late. So
they were. Okay, yeah.
Just go back to Vovchansk section, I guess, which we will not chapter it, but.
The answer is no. We have no evidence at all, and the best sourcing I can find for these reports are trolls, like internet trolls. I see no evidence. I don't see any. I don't. They say they have video. What video? Show me the video.
And there could be areas where they actually, are at the river. If you follow the river more towards the west, there are areas where they could, or where one of their buddies could float across the river, when you could consider that, crossing it. But there's no evidence, even for the further west.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Krasnohorivka is the next. I don't know if you want to go into detail.
Krasnohorivka, it's collapsing. It's basically done. We knew Ukraine couldn't hold it. It's impossible to hold. I don't know. Like I don't really understand why they're still holding it. The only way you could justify it is if you're taking very low casualties, which I kind of think they're not. I kind of think they're taking high casualties probably. But if you're taking really low casualties, I guess you could justify holding onto Krasnohorivka, because it's a completely indefensible position. You're buying time, and that's it. That's all Krasnohorivka is at this point, is buying time. They say that Ukraine controls about 25% of Krasnohorivka, and that is probably technically true. Because this here, like this, is Krasnohorivka. But nobody on Earth considers this Krasnohorivka. When the people talk about Krasnohorivka, they're talking about this. And this part right here, they control like maybe like 10%. So it's basically lost. They've been kicked out of the Northeast. They've been kicked out of the entire South. And they're going to be kicked out of the Northwest. And that's just the way it is. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of high ground positions that the Russians are up against next, which isn't going to make it too easy.
Yeah, so any Russian attack that is this direction, like this, going west, is hopeless. This is all hopeless. Their best case scenario is taking massive casualties. Attacks going this way are more hopeful. They could make more progress here. The progress here is like everyone's gonna die. Like attacking up here is really bad because Ukraine has every single possible advantage you could ever imagine, and Russia is on like a plateau basically. Like this is like a plateau, and this is like a big hill, like a big hill actually, especially like, by Ukrainian standards, it's pretty big. And not only that, but it's steep on the front and kind of gradual on the back, so you can like really easily shoot over the hill, and Ukraine is going to control all of these fields with artillery and drones, and Russia is going to have a hard time shooting back because of the hill. Ukraine has every advantage you could ever imagine. That's why like going this way is really bad. So you kind of have to go south. And part of it is that there's this big moat. You have all of this water. It's basically like a natural castle.
Well, of course, that is, while other things constant, constant in terms of defensive potential, because we've seen in New York that sometimes things happen.
Yeah, but to be fair, crossing a river that is like half a meter wide is a little bit different than crossing this giant moat. Where am I? Yeah, there's this giant moat here where you have these big lakes surrounded by like these rivers. Sometimes the rivers are skinny and small, but the other side of the river is like a cliff. It's rough. This is like, let's see if we can look at it in 3D. Um, okay. Google Earth. So if you kind of look around, this is kind of the terrain we're talking about. It kind of gets gradually higher and higher and higher. These are like legitimate hills, surrounded by water, especially over here where it is pretty steep hills that go from basically water level all the way up to this big old hill up here. And from up here, you're going to be able to shoot anything you want on these giant flat plains that lead up to these positions that Russia is going to have to cross in probably on foot, honestly, because they don't really have that many vehicles left. Wouldn't it be funny if they lost all their vehicles attacking this place?
I mean, yes.
I'm gonna go to Krasnohorivka. If you imagine yourself as a little ant sitting right here, and you have to march all the way over there and cross these big old plains and these lakes and moats and stuff. And you kind of go up this little hill here, which isn't actually this tall because it's Google Earth. Anyway, but yeah, it's just not going to be fun for the Russians. That's just my point. And there's layers of defenses that Ukraine has prepared for a long time, actually, since well before this full-scale attack. So, yeah. Do you have anything else you'd like to talk about on anything else, basically? Because other than Eurozina, I have nothing else to say. Do you want to
Well, what we see is that the Russians have been active around Pobieda and the Marinka angle.
Yeah.
And we have seen that the Russians are very successful at destroying their vehicles there. We did see the major aftermath of the Novomikhailivka or basically Vuhledar assaults. I mean, ever since 2 years ago or so, we talk about Vuhledaring being a verb. And they're still doing it, and every time it makes me happy because you see a lot of those aftermath images and videos, and you know exactly that the Ukrainians in those situations, they probably didn't take any or many casualties, because the Russians, they simply don't even reach any point where they could really fight. So yeah, and I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago, we mapped, 16 vehicles? I think like a still image was released a couple of days before the first videos came out, and the first videos, they basically showed what chronologically happened before the image. What happened?
The images aren't uploaded.
Oh no. They were uploaded, but you didn't download it.
Oh.
But also you're still showing Google Earth, by the way.
My bad.
I already thought you probably passed out. But this is it. So if you zoom out, there should be even more vehicles.
Yeah.
Unless this is only the still image now. Okay, I see. If you go further in time, I think, what was it, 2 days ago, where we mapped the rest of the vehicles? Yeah, exactly. So maybe the images are actually now there in some of them because I uploaded both images. Yeah, exactly. So the lower image, which is loaded quite well, is one of those aftermath images. And this is, in my opinion, this is the best case scenario of how an assault can go. Because as said, very little exposure to Ukraine. They probably, and you see 72nd and 79th doing an absolutely amazing job in luring the Russian assaults into the places where they want them to go. They use a couple of different means. One of the things which Muklasen, I think, did a thread on even was the barbed wire, which, often, one or two vehicles of the Russians, they get stuck in barbed wire. And then basically the barbed wire guides where the Russians or the Russian vehicles go. And they typically go into the next mine. And what you see here is also barbed wire again. So it's very possible that, they avoided the barbed wire and got routed right into a minefield or something like that.
It's hard to see, but there's barbed wire right here curling like this and around that vehicle.
Yeah.
It's very faint, but you can see it. And there's barbed wire up here too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what you see there is absolutely excellent defending. That's why Vuhledaring will remain a meme for quite some time, because every tree line they capture is so costly for the Russians there. One of their brigades, the 155th, I don't think it's still operating there because it just lost probably everything. Currently, what we see is.
I think they're in Belgorod now, getting ready to attack Kharkiv.
Yeah, with infantry, because that's the only thing they have left. But yeah, we see them now operating drones in Kharkiv area. This is the story of the 155th, which was pretty much a huge embarrassment, to be honest. I don't currently know exactly who's attacking there, but whoever it is, they're not doing much better. So this area is, it's brilliant, to be honest, what we see there from 72nd and 79th.
Yep. Yeah. The problem is that Ukraine doesn't have enough ammo to fully stop these attacks. It's like they can stop most of the attack, but then a little tiny bit gets through, and then they just keep getting a little tiny bit through, and that tiny bit is enough to capture it. And they have to keep doing that. And that's causing wonderful attrition. But if Ukraine had just a little bit more ammo, they could probably just stop everything. So the last story today is Eurozhina. And Eurozhina is a bit of a hot mess at the moment. It's a bit of a mess. Ukraine is losing a lot of vehicles here. When you in our vehicle reports where Ukraine loses armored vehicles, most of those armored vehicles are here. They've lost a whole bunch of MRAPs, several tanks, including one tank today. They've lost. I swear to God, there was a CV90 here yesterday. Does that even make sense? Does it make sense for CV90 to be here?
I'm not sure where we saw the 21st the last time. Maybe maybe the 21st was sent there to counterattack on Russia, but well, I'm gonna look it up.
I swear that vehicle was a CV90. I just listed it as an infantry fighting vehicle, because it obviously is. It has a turret. It's not a tank. It has a turret, so it's an infantry fighting vehicle. And it's wedge shaped. I just really think it was a CV90. But it was basically like right here, and it was hit by a drone. Actually, it's right there. This is it. That's the image. The image is not great quality, but I swear to God, it's a CV90.
I don't know. It looks like a BMP to me. But anyway, so 21st was not geolocated, I think, since April or March. So that's about the time you would expect for a rotation and refit. So it technically, I guess it's possible. We know that 58th was counterattacking into Oroshana a lot. That's why the town held for a surprising amount of time, to be honest, given that we have seen the Russians inside Oroshana already, like, I don't know, 2 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
But today, today we've seen them raise a flag in the center of the town. We've seen them getting droned a bit north of that, even so, pretty much where the current edge of the gray zone or a combat zone is the yellow zone. That's pretty much where we have seen them attack today. So the Russians are there, and it didn't look like counterattacks were very successful.
Yeah, remember that time they like drove all the way up to like there and like let the infantry in and drove away?
Yeah, I was so mad at that video. By the way, Konstantin just joined.
Constantine. How you doing?
Hello. Doing great. How are you?
I talked about your fundraiser before.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to talk about it more?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you. I just joined to watch the news
Okay.
from you.
Okay. So I'm personally not really sure what is going on here at the moment. I do know that they lost a tank, and then there was a follow-up video of the tank, which was sad. I don't really want to talk about it, but I don't know what else to say. That's pretty much all I got. So, outside of that, there was one minor map update that occurred over here. This dots. I have to move that dot. But there was a this Ukrainian shelling and vehicles destroyed, etc. I'm pretty sure Russia captured that tree line here and extended their control over that little area there. But that's a relatively minor change. Beyond that, the Russians are using a nuclear power plant to hide their vehicles. And I don't know. That's all the news we got.
Did we have any missile strikes into Russia or Crimea? I know today there were a bunch of strikes which are not mapped yet. Like today we did have one in Mariupol, I think, at the airfield. Most likely an air defense battery which was targeted. I don't know of the results, but the fire looked quite important, I'd say.
It was a very white fire.
Yeah, but that is typically also for grass fires, I think. And the issue is that, there's so much dry land there that if you make anything explode, it will, set a large area on fire. So it's too early to judge if it was successful there, but honestly, given how many strikes on AD assets we have seen recently, it's, to be honest, to me, it's currently more likely that they hit something there.
One thing that I would note is that the sources I trust the most in Mariupol aren't really talking about it.
Yeah, but that might be because it's the air, so it's a bit outside. There is visual confirmation, at least.
Yeah.
Of that fire.
Of the fire. Yeah. They do say, quote, repeated detonations.
Yeah, that sounds like maybe an AD asset. And you love to see it, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's always fun.
Yeah, then we have seen after the Russian missile raid, we have seen an increase in Ukrainian drone strikes into Russia. We have seen them targeting a bunch of substations, other power infrastructure. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a good idea to do that. I think Ukraine has to do it, to be honest. I think they should expand that, and I think that they should be able to use whatever we supply at their own discretion to, continue doing that. Also, because I think telling someone what to do and what not to do makes you more of a participant to a war than helping someone with equipment and letting them take their own decisions.
Yep, I agree. Even if it's controversial.
Maybe I should tell that to Scholz, who's my chancellor.
You just walk over and tell him.
Yeah, I mean, Germany's so small, right? I could just walk to Berlin and everyone knows each other.
just knock on a door and say hello. Can you?
Yeah, but honestly, I'm surprised that I don't see this point being talked about more. That telling a participant of the war to what to do and what not to do. There's this. It makes you a direct, influence into the conflict. I don't understand it.
I don't understand how you can train soldiers, supply weapons and ammo and money, and use economic warfare against the other side, and then say you're not a participant. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and how can you arrest FSB agents on your own ground preparing to assassinate people or set things on fire? How can that make not the other party attack you, right? How is that not the case? This is entirely stupid. The logic there is completely flawed, and people should think this through.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's that. I think we should get back to work now.
Yeah, one more information. The F-16. So I think this was also coming up during the week. Now it's been said that the F-16 will be there by the end of the summer. I don't know how long.
Well,
when does summer end? on the calendar? Is it August?
They do 3-month seasons.
Okay, so it should be around August then, I guess. Anyway, so by the end of the summer, Ukraine has F-16 was a statement today. I read that we're talking that by the end of the summer, Ukraine has 6 F-16. So I think it's the first time now that I read a number on how many is that by the end of the summer. And 6 isn't much.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are these the same people who said that it would be there by the beginning of spring, and then they also then said it would be there by the beginning of summer? Is it the same people?
Well,
are they just moving their timeline back 3 months every 3 months?
Well, I think to be fair, now it's the US having confirmed that as well, and Zelensky also said it. So I think it can be more official than what we have now.
Okay.
But also, like 6 of them ready by the end of the summer is, it's a drop of water on a hot stone. It's nothing. It's not enough.
Well, it's 6 more than they had.
It's 6 more than they had, but yeah, we need to scale it up. We need to scale up our support.
Yeah.
They say that Ukraine will get 20 by the end of the year as well in total, and even 20 is like it's not enough. We need like to have operational, to make them useful. We probably need like 52 or something like this. So we could have 2 full regiments.
I think what you can achieve with a low number, and this is of course also something very important, what you can achieve if those are equipped with or upgraded with new radar setups, you could potentially achieve a deterrence. This is something of value, but to make an impact on the war, it's probably not enough. But some areas, particularly, if you look at the Kherson airstrikes, those areas are potentially something that the Russians will avoid flying too close to in the future, because obviously the radar sets and the missile potential the F-16s bring will be significant.
Imagine if they get JASSM.
Is that S6 or what is the missile, the anti-air missile?
JASSM is a cruise missile.
Cruise missile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a Storm Shadow, but American.
How much? What is the warhead? What's the size of the warhead?
I think it's relatively small, but it's the advantage of it is the quantity.
Yeah, we have like infinite.
Yeah, so this is something you'll be able to shoot many of them at the same place, and then the size of the warhead is.
The warhead is 450 kilograms. That's what it says on Wikipedia.
So it must be true.
I don't know. Western missiles, bombs, they all like have such smaller, are so much smaller than Russians ones for some reason.
Because we plan on hitting, and the Russians don't care if they miss. I think that's the difference.
Well, their missiles hit they have pretty precise missiles like caliber.
But their precise ones have smaller warheads, don't they?
No, I think it still has like 800 kilograms warhead.
Well, I know their newer versions have much smaller warheads. Or no, the opposite. They made the warhead much bigger. Yeah, that's what they did. They made it bigger to have shorter range. Yeah. Russians have always liked big bombs. The U.S. never really did, I don't think.
Well, the U.S. has I think 5-ton bomb. That's the biggest one in the world.
Yeah, but like our
But
main thing is like we always drop like 500-pound bombs. We love our 500-pound bombs.
yeah, there is. And how much explosive that is that? Does it have like 100 pounds or 200 pounds?
I imagine it's 50-50 or something. I don't know. It says it's 89 kilograms.
That's the explosive part,
Yes.
or the warhead.
Uh,
Okay.
it says it has 89 kilograms of high explosive. That's what it says. If it's
And
wrong, blame Google.
what's the range in those missiles?
Well, that's a bomb. It's a 500-pound bomb.
Yeah, bombs. What is the range of those?
I don't know.
Can they like glide like Russians, so we can throw them from?
Yeah, that's what Ukraine is using. They put the glide kit on it and they fly. They go wee.
Well, I hope with F-16s we can use them more effectively.
Yeah, and the GLSDB uses the same thing, right?
I don't know.
If I remember right, the U.S. can currently make 9,000 bombs per year, which is a lot. It's a lot of bombs.
I mean, you see where the priority was.
What is the price of the bomb?
I don't know.
No, I mean, in terms of overall potential, the priority was always on air superiority, and that's why you now have artillery without, everything.
Yeah. I don't know how much a 500-pound bomb costs, but I imagine it's relatively cheap because we have everything is fully built out. We have all the factory. It's all built and ready to go. It's churning out bombs. So I doubt they're very expensive. They're probably pretty cheap. I don't know the price though. Part of the reason why a lot of weapons cost a lot of money is because they make you like pay in like the first few batches. You have to pay for like the cost of all the equipment to manufacture.
Hey guys.
Whereas with like these sorts of bombs, all that stuff is paid for, so they're cheaper.
Yeah, but these bombs have been produced for quite a long time, and they're producing really high quantities, right? So they should be cheap.
Yeah, they're cheap. I don't know the price, but they're cheap. And not only that, but we're not producing anywhere near our capacity. I think we're making like 2,000 a year, and our capacity is 9,000 or something. So we can produce an extra 7,000 a year and give them all to Ukraine if we wanted to.
We need those 200 LB Mark 84 bombs. These are the ones that we need. Those are the best.
Yeah, but you need to be able to lob them into target, and that's the issue.
Well, can F-16 carry them, or it's too heavy for it?
I think it can carry it, but I don't know how many.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if F-16 would be used in that in that way.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you're more likely to shoot a JASM or air defense. Anyways, I'm gonna call it a day. Thank you for everybody coming and listening to us ramble for a while. Right. So see you later.
Thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
See you. Bye.